this morning, very early this morning at 5:20 a.m., he put out a story on the heels of the uniform unveiling yesterday, the alt uniform unveiling, titled, "Commanders Seem to be Laying Foundation for Potential Return to Their Old Name." He writes, "This item isn't about whether the Commanders should or shouldn't have changed their name." Well, we know his position. He was for many, many years, and when they finally did it, he was euphoric over the fact that the name had gone away. He wrote, "It's not about whether they should or shouldn't change it back." That's interesting because I certainly think that he would be mortified if they changed it back. What'd you say?
I have some audio for this because he discussed it on, I believe, his
you got
podcast.
This audio?
Yeah.
So, here, let's go ahead and play it.
Yeah, it's about 1:40. Let's hear it.
And on top of all of that, they can say all they want that they're not going back to their old name. And look, it's their business. It's their team. I'll react to it at the appropriate time if they do revert to a name that is a dictionary-defined slur. That for how many years? 7 years. There was a debate raging as to whether or not they should get rid of the name. And they finally did, even though the former owner of the team said, "I'll never do it," and you can put it in all caps. Well, the current owner of the team has said they're not going back to the former name. And that's not binding, as I said the other day. And they've unveiled throwback uniforms. And the angles chosen for how they showcase the uniforms where you can't see the logo on the side of the helmet, it looks just like the former team uniforms. It looks just like it. It's everything but the logo. How do you not look at that and say, it's just another trial balloon as they move toward possibly re-embracing the old name? Regardless of how you feel about the old name, I feel like they're in the process of tiptoeing toward going back to the old name, and they might do it at some point between now and, I don't know, 2028? I don't know. Or maybe they do it in line with opening the new stadium. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier. If they get the president involved to break the logjam in D.C., or if the federal government takes over D.C. and they want help from the man in charge, and the man in charge wants the old name back, what are they going to do?
Yeah. So, what are they going to do? Well, that would be the ultimate, hey, we had our hands tied. The federal government told us we had to go back to the old name. I don't see that happening. I really don't. Trump certainly could be the trump card in all of this, but I think the city council is going to vote on this stadium. I think that's going to get passed. And I don't know. My personal view is that he would not step in and force, the name to change as a quid pro quo for RFK. That would be wonderful if it happened. I don't see it happening. But I think what Mike Florio is doing, first of all, let me just say, I just, the dictionary defined, insensitive, racist. There are dictionaries that actually don't describe it that way, don't describe it as racist, describe it as pejorative. But beyond all of that, it's very limiting when that's your mic drop, when that's your only, piece of data to use in your position. It seems like a really strong data point. There's no doubt. But people like Mike Florio haven't lived it like we have, and we, understand what the origin of the word and what it actually really meant and how the whole thing came about. For many years, it wasn't just with Florio, the name, it was that this was a racist franchise, the last to integrate, etc., with George Preston Marshall as a racist owner. And there was just a lot of the history. But personally, I think it's very limiting when you don't, avail yourself to the argument from the other side, which was always very compelling and actually more compelling in many ways because the Native Americans themselves, when polled, first in that Annenberg poll in 2004, then the Washington Post poll in 2016, overwhelmingly did not think that the dictionary definition of the word was accurate or appropriate. But anyway, I think what he's doing here is he's trying to thwart any thought that Josh Harris and company might have based on the reaction they got yesterday, which they knew was coming, trust me, by rallying those that would be outraged and offended if they did consider going back to the old name. It's like before this even bubbles up even close to the surface, let me just tell all of you that fought with me against this name all of those years, be careful. They may be working their way back to it. Let's make sure they never get close to it. You know, you can find a lot of people that are in the business of being offended, and he's been one of them as it's related to this particular subject for a long time without much consideration for actually how Native Americans have felt. And again, that's a tricky subject, as we know too, because there are 500 plus Indian reservations, all seem to be autonomous from one another. You can only go with kind of the legitimate polling, and here come all of the tweets. That Washington Post poll was done haphazardly. It wasn't done fairly. Really, the Washington Post, do you think, have any clue as to what they were hoping the result would be of that poll in 2016? They were floored, just like many others. That was a silencer in the moment. There's no doubt. That 2016 poll, where 9 out of 10 Native Americans said that that Redskins was not offensive, was a silencer for a few years until Dan started to mess with his minority shareholders, and the environment of the summer of 2020 emerged. But I think this is Florio not necessarily really believing it, but trying to rally all of those people that had an issue with the name for all of those years to say, hey, don't sleep on what they're doing here. Let's make sure that they don't go in this direction. As they have found, those that were against the name, and they found it probably in some cases surprisingly so, the pushback on their view was overwhelming, especially from this fan base. So I know a lot of you saw this story and sent it to me, and Max sent it to me early this morning. That's my view of it. I do not agree with him. I do not think this is step one towards a return to the old name. I don't. I hope I'm wrong. I've said that 15 times in the last 2 days. I so want to be dead wrong on this, but I just don't think $26 billion worth of partnerships with the likes of CBS and Fox and NBC and Amazon and Netflix and ABC Disney and Anheuser-Busch and Amazon and FedEx and Pepsi, and the list goes on and on. Bank of America, I just don't think that the NFL will ever do that, because for so many years they had to fight against this. They had to answer this. They hated it. The commissioner hated it. Every Super Bowl media day, somebody asked, when is the name going to change? What are you going to do about this racist name? Again, as I've said for a few years now, but even more emphatically the last few days, if the name hadn't left us in 2020, it would still be here, and the environment for it to be to be taken away would have been much less than it was 5 years ago, 5 summers ago. But it's gone, and that makes it really difficult to bring back. It's like, why would you want that controversy back? Forget whether or not it's legitimate controversy. That's never mattered to those who are in the business of being offended. Okay? That's never mattered. They have to deal with it. And when I say they, the league, the teams, and then the $26 billion worth of league partners with their shareholders and their customers. So I don't believe that Mike Florio is right. I do believe that Mike Florio is trying to thwart any thought and trying to rally those that have been on his side for many, many years to make sure that if Josh Harris thinks they're not going to be there, if he starts to contemplate going back to the old name, that they are. And they will be loud. And they will be mic dropping with the dictionary in hand in every case.